Hello, and welcome to the A Book a Day channel. This video's featured book is Positive Discipline, subtitled How to Discipline Effectively Without Punishment or Spoiling. The book is approximately 270,000 words long, and I will spend about 20 minutes sharing its essence, understanding the reasons behind a child's mistakes, and treating them with kindness and firmness, so parents can discipline without punishment or spoiling. Every parent certainly loves their child dearly, but in the process of raising them, they need more than just love. They need to know how to love. It's like a surgeon with a scalpel, sincerely telling a patient, "I really want to help you, although my skills are poor, but I'm very loving, so please trust me." If you were that patient, hearing this would surely make you jump off the operating table. Thus, the method of doing things is especially important. Similarly, for parents, it's crucial to have an appropriate method of disciplining their children. This book discusses positive discipline, which is such a method. The core of positive discipline is two words: kindness and firmness. The author believes that children can only develop self-discipline, a sense of responsibility, cooperation, and problem-solving skills in a kind and firm atmosphere, enabling them to learn social and life skills that will benefit them for a lifetime. Positive discipline is an educational method that fosters good character and capabilities in children and is effective in the long term. The author of this book, Jane Nelson, is a distinguished American psychologist and educator. Since its publication in 1981, her Positive Discipline has become the gold standard in American child discipline literature, translated into 16 languages, with over 4 million copies sold in the U.S. alone. However, although Jane Nelson is the author of Positive Discipline, she is not the founder of this educational philosophy. The founders of the positive discipline concept were Austrian psychiatrist and individual psychology founder Alfred Adler and American child psychologist Rudolf Dreikurs, a student of Adler's. You might not have heard of these two, but you surely know Adler's teacher, the renowned Freud. In the 1920s and 1930s, Adler and Dreikurs introduced European concepts of parent-child education and scientific classroom management to America. Their philosophy advocated respecting children, emphasizing that spoiling and indulgence are not encouragement, and in both schools and homes, adults should discipline children with kindness and firmness. These concepts were the precursors to positive discipline. In the 1980s, Jane Nelson was exposed to Adler's educational philosophy. Deeply influenced, Nelson joined a government-funded training program in California to teach these concepts to parents and teachers. With the program's support, Nelson developed Adler's philosophy into the positive discipline concept and published the first edition of Positive Discipline in 1981. Since then, positive discipline has become popular worldwide, with training courses available in nearly 100 countries. Overall, the first half of the book mainly discusses concepts and methods, while the latter half is more practical, containing many specific examples. Notably, the author repeatedly mentions Adler and Dreikurs' theories and views in the conceptual part of the book, reflecting their significant influence on positive discipline and enhancing its authority. The positive discipline theory is a continuation of these two masters' theories. Let's explore some highlights of this book. I will introduce its content focusing on 4 key points. To learn positive discipline methods, one must first understand what positive discipline is. The first point I will discuss is that positive discipline is neither harsh nor indulgent. Kindness and firmness are its cornerstones. But achieving this is not easy. Many parents immediately get angry when they see their child making a mistake. So, the second key point is understanding the purpose behind a child's misbehavior to respond appropriately. Having understood the nature of a child's errors, the next step is to solve and correct them. The third key point I'll discuss is that parents shouldn't just tell children what not to do, but should teach them problem-solving methods. Finally, often children misbehave because they lack a sense of belonging and value. If parents can encourage their children, it can eliminate this sense of loss. Therefore, the last key point is that encouragement is the best way to correct a child's misbehavior. Let's first examine the first key point. Positive discipline is a method that is neither harsh nor indulgent, with kindness and firmness as its foundation. To understand what positive discipline truly is, let's recall the traditional ways of discipline. Many parents might think that punishment effectively disciplines children. Indeed, even the author of this book acknowledges the immediate effect of punishment in stopping undesirable behavior. However, have you considered the long-term effects of punishment? The author, after research, concludes that although punishment can make children obey in the short term, it leads to far reactions in the long run: resentment, revenge, rebellion, and withdrawal. Children might not realize it, but they respond to their parents with one or several of these reactions. For instance, a child criticized might subconsciously see themselves as bad and then behave accordingly, or they might become a pleaser, always seeking approval, which can lead them to be indecisive. Of course, there could be many other consequences. Therefore, parents need to understand that the punishment in traditional disciplinary methods can be very harmful in the long term. The author poses a sharp question to parents. Why do you think punishing children will make them behave better? Think about the last time you felt humiliated or punished. If your boss criticized you, would you feel grateful and motivated to perform better? Most people wouldn't. Thus, the author believes that this punitive traditional method of discipline is not advisable. Of course, many parents also know they should not be too harsh or too indulgent with their children, but they don't know any other method of discipline. Hence, they often swing between these two approaches, starting off too harshly, then feeling guilty and becoming too indulgent, which spoils the child, and then reverting to being too harsh. In short, many parents are perplexed by how to discipline their children. That's why we need positive discipline, a method that is neither harsh nor indulgent. Its biggest difference from other traditional methods is that positive discipline neither shames the child nor makes the parent feel awkward. It's based on mutual respect and cooperation, integrating kindness and firmness as the cornerstone of discipline, and then fostering various capabilities in children based on self-control. The author emphasizes repeatedly that kindness and firmness are the cornerstones of positive discipline. This is because kindness expresses respect for the child, and firmness helps parents maintain their authority while showing respect for facts. Harsh punishment generally lacks kindness, while indulgence lacks firmness. Therefore, kindness and firmness differentiate positive discipline from other methods. This might sound abstract, so let me give you an example of how to apply positive discipline, achieving both kindness and firmness. Suppose one day, a daughter in elementary school comes home from school and complains to her mother that she was criticized by her teacher in front of the whole class. What should the mother do? If she criticizes her daughter without understanding the situation, the daughter will feel wronged and upset, which is definitely not the right approach. On the other hand, blindly defending the child and confronting the teacher is also detrimental to the child's future school life. Here, the author summarizes the mother's correct approach into 4 steps to winning cooperation: expressing understanding of the child's feelings, expressing sympathy, not forgiveness, communicating her feelings, and emphasizing problem solving. When a child is criticized by a teacher, they naturally feel upset, and the mother should not add to that by blaming but should adopt a different attitude. For example, she might kindly say, "I understand you. Anyone criticized by their teacher would be unhappy." This is the first of the 4 steps, expressing understanding of the child's feelings. The mother might continue, "When I was in school, I was criticized for small actions, and I know how it feels, so I sympathize with you." This is the second and third step, expressing sympathy, not forgiveness, and communicating her feelings. Parents should remember that sympathy and forgiveness are different. In the face of a child's misbehavior, if you express forgiveness, the child might think their actions were correct. Only sympathy can both acknowledge the child's mistake and show the parent's understanding. After realizing that her mother understands her, the child is more likely to explain the whole story. Perhaps she was named and shamed for borrowing a pencil during class, which made her feel unjustly treated. Knowing the reason, the mother can then move to the last step, strategizing, by asking the child what to do in the future. The child might think carefully and suggest bringing extra pencils to avoid borrowing. This is the 4th step, emphasizing problem solving. This allows the child to think of solutions and try not to repeat the mistake. Thus, after these 4 steps, the child has vented their frustration and learned to take responsibility for their actions and find solutions, achieving multiple benefits. This is the power of positive discipline. This is the first key point of the book. Positive discipline is a method that is neither harsh nor indulgent, with kindness and firmness as its foundation. Understanding what positive discipline is, the next question is how to implement it. To achieve positive discipline, we first need to correct a common misconception among parents. This leads us to the second key point. Children with misbehavior are not necessarily bad. Parents need to understand the purpose behind these behaviors to respond appropriately. Many parents and teachers don't realize that what is often labeled as misbehavior in children is actually quite normal for their age. For instance, a toddler being scolded for being naughty while still learning to walk is quite innocent, as their brain hasn't developed enough to understand adult demands, and their language or social skills are not yet sufficient to express their true thoughts. The same applies to slightly older children. Their misbehavior is not deliberate. American child psychologist Rudolf Dreikurs once said, "A misbehaving child is a discouraged child." He discovered that when children lose confidence in themselves, their behaviors aim to fulfill one of 4 erroneous goals: seeking undue attention, seeking power, seeking revenge, and displaying inadequacy. In their eyes, seeking undue attention and power stems from a fear of losing a sense of belonging and value. Revenge is their way of compensating for the hurt they feel, and inadequacy is a sign of lost confidence. So, how can parents discern the purpose behind their child's misbehavior? The author suggests a method. Parents should carefully consider their own feelings when facing their child's misbehavior. Let me explain this with an example. Take the case of not doing homework. Some children use this as a way to get their parents' attention, with an implicit message like, "Hey, look at me." When children do this, parents may feel annoyed, anxious, or troubled. If a child refuses to do homework as a display of power, the underlying message is, "You can't tell me what to do." This can make parents feel threatened or challenged, provoking anger. Sometimes, not doing homework is a form of revenge, perhaps with a message like, "You care more about grades than me, you don't love me, so I'll make you unhappy." In this case, parents are likely to feel hurt and disappointed. In cases of giving up, children genuinely feel they can't do the homework, making parents feel helpless. By being attentive to their feelings in response to their child's behavior, parents can discern the child's underlying purpose. Once the purpose is identified, parents need to know how to respond to the child's behavior effectively. For children seeking undue attention, parents can engage them in meaningful activities, like assigning a significant household chore. For children seeking power or acting out of revenge, who tend to be more emotionally volatile, parents should avoid arguing and allow time for both sides to cool down. Parents should realize that they can't force children to do things. Instead, they should work with them to find solutions. For children who have given up, parents need to spend time coaching them step by step, affirming any small progress and focusing on their strengths. If parents can't accurately address these issues with these methods, children will likely make significant progress. However, the author also mentions that spending quality time with children and expressing love regularly is a universal remedy for all situations. The above is the second key point. Children with misbehavior are not necessarily bad. Parents need to understand the purpose behind these behaviors to respond appropriately. Learning to view children's mistakes correctly lays a solid foundation for positive education. Understanding the child's misbehavior leads to the next step, finding ways to solve the problem. This is the third key point. Parents shouldn't just tell children what not to do, but rather, they should teach them how to solve problems. Traditional disciplining focuses on teaching children what not to do, whereas positive discipline emphasizes teaching them what to do. When children are actively involved in addressing their actions and bearing the consequences, rather than passively accepting them, their engagement and awareness of their behavior increase. For example, when a child makes a mistake, they should take responsibility for the issues they've caused and be involved in solving the problem. However, problem solving with children should be approached methodically. The author outlines 4 elements to consider when resolving issues: relevancy, respect, reasonableness, and helpfulness. Let's understand these better with an example. Imagine a child accidentally breaks a neighbor's window while playing soccer. Instead of scolding them harshly, the parent should discuss with the child how to resolve the issue. The first element, relevancy, means the solution should be related to the problem. Punishing the child by making them stand in a corner at home is irrelevant and meaningless. The second element, respect, requires the solution to respect both the child and the facts. Unnecessary punishments or disregarding the actual damage caused to the neighbor's property are disrespectful. The third element, reasonableness, implies that the solution should be practical and feasible. For instance, offering a book as compensation for a broken window is unreasonable. Lastly, helpfulness means the solution should enable the child to learn and develop problem-solving skills. Following these elements, the parent might have the child use their allowance to buy new glass and then work together to repair the neighbor's window. Essentially, if parents refrain from blaming and view mistakes as learning opportunities, children can practice problem-solving skills and enjoy high-quality family time in a respectful atmosphere. This is the third key point. Parents should not just instruct children on what not to do, they should teach them how to solve problems. Teaching children to solve problems is essential, but at the end of the day, they are still children and need to be treated with kindness. Therefore, encouragement is an indispensable part of positive discipline. The final key point we'll discuss is that encouragement is the best method to correct a child's misbehavior. As mentioned earlier, a misbehaving child is often a discouraged child. American psychologist Rudolf Dreikurs strongly emphasized the importance of encouragement, considering it the most crucial skill adults should learn to help children. He frequently said, "Children need encouragement like plants need water. Without encouragement, children cannot thrive." The author also believes that encouragement is the best way to help children grow and learn. Often, a child's misbehavior is a signal that they feel unimportant and crave attention, a concept known in psychology as a lack of belonging and sense of worth. Parental encouragement is a crucial source of these feelings for children. If parents recognize this, they can understand why encouragement can eliminate the motivation behind a child's misbehavior. However, encouraging a child who has misbehaved is not always easy. Many parents, upon seeing their child make a mistake, are overwhelmed with anger and think only of punishment, pushing the idea of encouragement aside. Moreover, many parents have a bias believing that punishment will improve a child's behavior. Even if parents know they should encourage, they often don't know how to do it effectively. The author shares from personal experience that sometimes encouragement can start with a simple hug. Years ago, the author's 2-year-old son was constantly whining and crying, frustrating her to the point of wanting to scold him. But to test the theory of encouragement, she knelt down, hugged her son, and told him she loved him very much. After a period of encouraging comfort, the son stopped crying, and the author's irritation magically disappeared. In this instance, the author consciously observed her son's behavior and recognized the hidden message in his cries. She felt that her son needed attention and love, so she took a few minutes to do something encouraging rather than punitive. This approach turned out to be very effective. Encouragement is not always straightforward and requires attention to many aspects, such as timing. Generally, encouragement is most effective after a cooling-off period. During conflicts, especially when children seek power or revenge, both parents and children may be too angry to give or receive encouragement. Stepping back kindly is often the most effective thing a parent can do in a moment of conflict. Encouraging the child after both have calmed down is more meaningful. The reason the author says encouragement is the best way to correct a child's misbehavior is that it motivates children to willingly rectify their wrongdoings. When children act irresponsibly or disrespectfully, encouraging them to do something compensatory not only corrects their behavior but also gives them an opportunity to participate in problem-solving, thereby developing their sense of responsibility and ability to handle situations. For example, in an elementary school, 5 boys caught defacing a classroom door were wisely encouraged by their teacher to clean the door themselves. The teacher's friendly attitude made the boys willing to participate, and they ended up proud of their work and even prevented other children from damaging school property. Encouraging children to make amends teaches them social responsibility. Children feel better about themselves when they help others because they learn to take responsibility for their actions without fear of blame or humiliation. To summarize this part, the author believes that children are inherently innocent and do not misbehave because they are naturally bad. Therefore, parents should not punish children who make mistakes. Understanding the motivation behind a child's mistakes and using encouragement to eliminate these motivations allows them to learn to take responsibility for their actions in the process of making amends. This approach is beneficial in multiple ways and is something parents should happily embrace. Sure, let's summarize the content of the book discussed in the video. Firstly, we talked about positive discipline, a method that is neither harsh nor indulgent, with kindness and firmness as its foundation. This approach does not shame children nor embarrass parents. It helps resolve various issues children face while developing many of their abilities. This method is worth learning for every parent. Secondly, we discussed that children with misbehavior are not necessarily bad. Parents need to understand the purpose behind these behaviors to respond appropriately. The behaviors of very young children are unintentional and parents should not punish them. For slightly older children, their so-called misbehavior aims to seek undue attention, power, revenge, or display inadequacy. Recognizing the purpose behind a child's behavior helps parents make better judgments. Third, parents should not just tell children what not to do, but should teach them how to solve problems. When facing problems, parents should not resort to punishment or ignore the issues, but instead focus on solving them, thereby cultivating various social skills in children. The author summarizes 4 elements to consider in problem solving: relevance, respect, reasonableness, and helpfulness. Lastly, we noted that encouragement is the best method to correct a child's misbehavior. Children need encouragement as much as plants need water. Parents can start encouraging their children with a simple hug. Encouraging children to make amends for their mistakes not only develops their skills, but also fosters a sense of responsibility. This concludes the content of this video. If you liked it, feel free to share it with your friends. Congratulations on completing another book.